Recording in progress.
It is 7:04, and if Stephanie, we can get a roll call, please.
Commissioner Dillard,
Here.
Commissioner Gathawa,
Here.
Commissioner Johnson,
Here.
Commissioner Krebs.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Merritt,
Here.
Commissioner Nobis, let me just make sure. And Commissioner Simmons.
Here.
Thank you. Next, we're going to go to the reading of the Native American Land Acknowledgement. Ask you to read it.
We meet today in the community of Iowa City, which now occupies the homelands of Native American nations to whom we owe our commitment and dedication. The area of Iowa City was within the homelands of the Iowa, Meskwaki, and Sauk. And because history is complex and time goes far back beyond memory, we also acknowledge the ancient connections of many other indigenous peoples here. The history of broken treaties and forced removal that dispossessed indigenous peoples of their homelands was and is an act of colonization and genocide that we cannot erase. We implore the Iowa City community to commit to understanding and addressing these injustices as we work towards equity, restoration, and reparations.
Thank you, Commissioner Merritt. Next, we're going to move on to agenda item number 3, approval of meeting minutes. Can I get a motion for approval?
So moved.
I second.
Okay, it's been properly moved in second to approve the meeting minutes from July 20th, August 1st, August 2nd, and August 3rd. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. Next, we're going to move to public comment of items not on the agenda. If there's anyone online that would like to speak at this time about anything not on the agenda, okay, if there's anyone in the room, and I'm going to just move on. Next, we're going to go to agenda item number 5, which is introductions. I'd like to first start off and say welcome to our newest member, Chad Simmons, Commissioner Simmons. We are excited to have new members. Thank you so much for being here. If you'd like to give us an introduction to yourself, feel free to do so right now.
I really would just like to say that I'm so honored to be a part of this group. I've watched some of the work that you all have done, and I know that it is tough, but the focus of doing what is good for the community is important, and so those who are brave enough to do that should be honored. It is my intention to do what I can to add value to the mission of the commission and to the mission and the purpose of what you all are trying to achieve individually and collectively. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. If any other commissioners would like to introduce themselves, you can do that as well right now.
I can start since I'm next to Chad. Chad, although we'd before I'd told him my name, Wangui, and I've been here since April 2021, and I still feel humbled that I'm doing this work and working with my communities in Iowa City. I'll leave it there for now.
This is Commissioner Johnson. I just wanted to welcome you as well. Thank you for taking the time out of your life to step up and do something that might not be the easiest thing on the face of the earth, but it's a necessary thing that we need to step up for, especially for those of us who live here in the community and care about our community. It's very brave and honorable for you to do so, and I hope that we can work to the best of our ability in making things move forward as smooth and as fast as possible and the right way. So thank you for your time.
This is Commissioner Merritt. It's kind of nice now to have someone with less history out here than I, because Marie and I were here starting in October. But I know you've been in the community, you know Iowa City, you know the area, and elated to have you on the commission and the contribution that you can provide to us. So, yeah.
Thank you.
It's nice to have some new folks on here and new perspectives. We've all been through a lot, so it's nice to have folks that might have some zest, for this job, because, yeah, it has been a lot. It's very nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Krebs, did you want to say anything?
Sure. Welcome to the commission. I look forward to working with you. I've been in the Iowa City community for like 25 years. It's been a long time. And working with whoever needs assistance. So, looking forward to making some action happen. Welcome to the team.
Thank you all. And again, my name is Chastity Dillard, and I'm so excited that you're here. I'm the chair, and Commissioner Mayer is the vice chair, and we'd love to sit down with you at some point if you want some more information about what we've been planning on doing. So, if everyone's okay, I'm going to move on to the next agenda item, which is actually, I'm going to skip number 6 because it's going to be led by our facilitator, V, but they're not here until 8 p.m., so we'll wait until they get here. Next, I'm going to move on to number 7, agenda item training continuation from August 1st through 3rd. I put this on there just in case any of our facilitators had some things that they wanted to run through. I know that was a thing that we had maybe talked about. I'll look to either, I think I saw Larry online, or whoever, if there's anything that you all would like to say during this time. Otherwise, we can move on. And I think he just left, or no, she put him.
Hey folks, can you all hear me okay?
Yes. Stephanie, can we turn it up just a little bit?
No, I did try, and I'm not sure.
Okay, thank
I
you.
can yell. Oh,
I think we can still hear you. It's fine if you
Okay.
have anything.
yeah, no, I'm happy to be with you all, primarily listening tonight. But I'm sure that if there are things that you felt really still need to be covered as it relates to training to help you all, as you launch into the active public part of this work, certainly we'd be happy to do our best to provide some of that additional training, whether virtually or in person on our next visit. I know that there were modules that Dave Ragland and Melinda Salazar from ThinkPiece weren't able to squeeze in from the training we did in August, and so I haven't heard from them in terms of when they would like to present that, but that's forthcoming. So there were a couple items on the agenda that weren't covered, just in the interest of time. But other than that, I think we're standing by for further guidance from you all in terms of how we can serve you in a training role.
Okay, thank you so much. Annie, did you have anything?
I don't really, don't really have anything to give you, but I feel like we got to hear a lot, and if you had time and listed questions you still have or what you're thinking about, I don't know if you're going to be doing that, when you're going to be doing that. So questions or takeaways or wonderings, but I don't know, you're a better judge of how you want to use your time.
Thank you.
Anyway, thanks.
That's a great question. And just so you know, Chad, I also had Stephanie put the videos of the training into some bite-size, to smaller segments that I can help distribute, so that if you wanted to watch what the training that we went through the first week of August, to make it a little bit easier. But if there's any questions or thoughts about the training, I think now would be the time to talk about it from commissioners. And if not, I will, go ahead.
The one thing I will say, I did watch Training 3. And so I appreciate the passion, and I really appreciate the openness. And so tough discussions are called tough for a reason, and so, again, I think it was handled well.
Thank you. Well, if there's nothing else, we can certainly come back if we need to, but I'm going to move on, and I'm not seeing anyone online that is not a facilitator. Is that correct, Stephanie? Yes. So I'm going to move past asking for public comments and move on to agenda item number 8. Which is the facilitator work plan for phase 1. We have reserved this as a time for us to talk about anything as far as the work plan. Again, our facilitators, is there any updates or any thoughts that you all would like to fill us in on this, or we can move on to the next agenda item?
This is Commissioner Merritt. I think at one time we talked about looking at the future and seeing, as commissioners, how much time do we see to dedicate to this, and maybe certain areas that we have more experience than others. And this is one of the things I'm thinking about. Is like, at least mine for a work plan, trying to get me more focus on, at least with my strengths. And I'm assuming this is the kind of thing we're talking about with these work plans, is and sort of grouping our areas of effort. Is that correct? Am I thinking that
I think
correctly?
so, yes.
Okay.
And also, as far as our own individual strengths, like you're saying, I'm thinking they're going to be teased out more once we get to the strategic doing session. That session, and V will be able to explain that further, is going to be an opportunity for us to really decide what activities we're going to be doing. And so I definitely look forward to that. We can talk a little bit more about that as soon as they are here. Is there anyone else that had anything that they wanted to talk about as far as the facilitator work plan or what we're doing in phase 1 as of right now?
This is Commissioner Johnson. I just wanted to make a quick one about the shirts and our symbol. That's actually in the plan right now and being worked on by the same guy who got the first copies ready. I would assume that he should be ready by next week. We have another meeting next week,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe by next week he should definitely have some better visuals, and then from there we can go on about which ones we want to decide from. He's got a few different copies we can check out, so just a heads up on that.
Great. And we might have to circle back on that one when we talk about the budget as well. If there's nothing else in this agenda, I'm going to move that we go to the next agenda item, number 9. Everyone good with that? So agenda item number 9 is commission bylaws. This is something that I talked with Stephanie, that was actually created in 2020, but was never ratified by the city council. Since we have new members, and it's possible, if we get new members in the future, I think it'd be good for us, best practice for us to have bylaws. When I read through it, it looked pretty good to me, but I wanted to bring it here today just to see what everyone else thinks. Since I'm assuming not everyone has had time to read through it, we can go ahead and read through it over the next week and talk about it at our next meeting.
We can't respond now.
We can, absolutely, absolutely.
I'd like to talk about Article 4, Section A. It says the commission shall consist of 9 members appointed by vote of the city council who are representative of the city's BIPOC communities and organizations, including those who have direct lived experience with systematic racism, as well as experts who support those communities. So, just thought I'd bring that up.
Yes, it is in there. It was created beforehand. I would agree with that. I mean, if we put this forth, city council has to ratify it. So we can always put what we want out there, and they can send it back to us. But if this is what we collectively agree, it should look like, that's in the bylaws, that's what it can stay in there. We can discuss on wording it differently or taking it out or keeping it in. Any other thoughts on that one?
Just to clarify, that language actually comes from the resolution from September 2020 that council passed that created the TRC. And the bylaws that you have are ones that staff drafted.
Okay.
So, so feel free to
So
make
the-
changes
so by
as you
these
want.
by-
But that language is exactly cut and paste from the resolution.
So it would be, in your opinion, that since this is from the resolution, there should be nothing wrong with that?
What I'm saying is that it's cut and paste from the resolution.
Okay.
So that wasn't something that somebody just added or created or summarized. That's a cut and paste.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification, Stephanie.
This is Commissioner Merritt. Another question for Stephanie. Do some of the other commissions with the city, they have bylaws, I'm assuming? And how does the
Every board
language
and
in...
commission should have bylaws.
Well, yeah, I know.
Well,
So-
ad hoc commissions don't usually, but,
Okay.
so.
And I was just kind of wondering, is the language also kind of consistent with some of the other city commission bylaws, or?
These are, basically, we took examples of other boards and commissions, so where things are not explicit to the resolution, for example, the attendance policy, things like that, those were drawn from other examples from other city boards and commissions. But when you see anything that specifically relates to the TRC in terms of responsibilities, duties, et cetera, that was pulled from the resolution.
You have something to say, Commissioner?
No, I'm fine.
So we can suggest changes to this?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
If you have
Okay.
changes now, you can, or we can.
So
have
I would just say, as well as experts who support these communities, also with lived experience.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. I'll make sure I get that correct on there afterwards.
Okay.
I can add that.
Okay, thank you.
So you said it's not yet ratified?
Nope.
When is it going to be? I'm not asking, I guess I'm wondering when it shall be ratified, because I'm wondering what are the implications right now, because it's not ratified. And I'm wondering, I'm not asking anybody
It's like
in
a
particular.
free-for-all?
Yeah, currently, you don't have bylaws, but the process would be if a majority of TRC members would, approve of the bylaws, then it goes to a council rules committee, and then from there, they can make changes, edits, et cetera, send it back down to the TRC. But if that doesn't happen, let's just say the rules committee approves the bylaws as submitted, then it would go directly to a council agenda to be approved by them. So that's the process it would take.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think my next thing, when do we want to start the process of ratifying? Or do we even want to, or do we want to leave things as they are? And what would be the implications? And really, I'm also part of this question. I'm not really throwing it at anybody, the responsibility.
My reasoning for bringing this up is I think it would help us govern things a lot better, easier moving forward. There would be no arbitrary decisions. We could look at the bylaws and really make decisions based off of that. And as Stephanie said, every other commission does have bylaws. This doesn't have to, I don't think this will hinder anything. It would be a simple yes or no from City Council if they approve it or not. We're just suggesting it either at our next meeting or the next meeting after that if we approve that we want to send it forward. Is that correct, Stephanie?
Yeah, if you approve them, then it would go to the rules committee, and then they would convene. Then after they convene, and if they approve, then it would go straight to a council agenda for their consideration.
Yes. As we all know, this commission was ad hoc and only supposed to last a year and a half, and we are well beyond that. So as we continue to get new members, it's just good practice, I believe. So that's why I wanted to bring this up. Are there-
Maybe we can be a movement towards not being ad hoc and
Yeah.
being a commission, like full-blown commission, Get
Yes.
And then we'll have to maybe put in some term dates. I don't know. People can only be on here for a certain amount of time. We've all been on here, some of us have been here for a while.
Yes.
So I don't know if that's something that we want to consider.
Maybe there's a section that says if this commission should turn from ad hoc, term limits would be a certain,
Yeah, I'm curious what other commission term limits are, like the Human Rights Commission, for instance, do they have term limits?
Yeah, most, I would say, are 3 to 4. The library board may be a little longer. I can't say.
3 to 4 years?
Correct, sorry, yes,
Okay.
3 to 4 years. But I think because these have this word ad hoc, I think if the Truth and Reconciliation Commission became a permanent city commission, then there would be bylaws for that commission. I
But
don't
we-
think these would transfer over.
it'd have to be different. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
But yeah, most are 3 to 4 years.
Are there any other thoughts?
Thank you, Commissioner Dillard, for bringing them. It's timely right now.
Of
Yeah,
course.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So in your opinion, how close are we to achieving the objective of the commission?
Of the objective of the commission, what we're what we're supposed to be doing, like our,
Just getting started.
Based on the bylaws that we have in place,
Yeah,
or
well-
the bylaws we want to have in place, I'm just curious.
I've-
The concept is that there's a need for work. There is a possibility maybe of becoming a permanent, not ad hoc. So from a permanent perspective, how close do you think we are to completing the work of the commission?
It's in my opinion that we're just getting started. We have these contracts with our facilitators for the amount of time, but I think we've all collectively agreed that this commission and the work is going to be needed to be done much longer than what we have been tasked to do. We have gotten we have been extended for the commission to the end of December 2024. The extensions happened has it been twice or 3 times since I've been on the commission? We just, especially with the facilitators, I will say, we've all talked about how this is going to be ongoing work.
Let me change the question. I think what I heard Stephanie say is that if we were to be a permanent commission, then the bylaws would in essence be different.
Yes.
And the work, there may be the possibility of the work to be able to continue, but in essence, the rules are different between being ad hoc versus being permanent.
Yes.
So-
What I was saying is if the commission becomes permanent, it's very well you could adopt these same bylaws, but because it says ad hoc, these would not simply be transferred over just because the commission becomes permanent. But it doesn't mean it would change much of what you're looking at right now.
So in essence, you're saying if we chose to keep them, if we became permanent, we'd just have to do the same process as
Correct,
submitting them
correct, yeah.
to the city council?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the work is on a continuum, and there's work that needs to be done. That the ad hoc, in essence, exists until December of 2024,
Right now?
but the work may continue past that, right?
Yes.
So I'm trying to better understand the difference between as we choose to stay ad hoc versus as we choose to become permanent. From an ad hoc perspective, how close are we to completing the work as an ad hoc organization or commission versus the overall work that needs to be done total?
Other people can speak up. Everything
happy
that
to
we've been
answer.
tasked, you have an answer? Okay.
I have no idea based upon everything that's happened. This was supposed to be like a 1-year thing or something like that at one point, right? So there's been a lot of extensions due to the fact that this commission has had very little support. Now that we actually have, facilitators that are supposed to do the job of what a TRC is tasked to do, I would imagine, if we're going to do the things just that the facilitators have planned for us, a year, but that's just going to scratch the surface, in my opinion, just based upon what I've seen and heard throughout my time on this commission, and also from what I know as an Indigenous person and an expert in this realm of, getting racial justice. So, like, I don't know. I mean, like, this is something that could take, in my opinion, years, because I've seen these things go on, other commissions, and they have taken years. I would hope that maybe we could do something in a shorter period possibly, but I don't think that this particular issue is ever going to be laid to rest, So we could keep it ad hoc, which is fine with me, because we are doing something specific, like a specific project. And then that's fine. I guess it depends on what the community wants moving forward. I really think that's the question to answer. What does the community want moving forward? When they're going through this process, we might find that there's a lot more people that, need this work to continue, or maybe we're fine with just, the finite nature of working with the facilitators. So I guess there's no real answer to that, from my opinion.
We're still just getting started, basically.
So I would ask us to really just to consider. It's been, multiple centuries of systems have been created, and it will take time, in essence, for us to be able to get someplace. I think, would acknowledge that it's really more about the journey than it is the destination.
Yes.
And I think we would also acknowledge that, in essence, for the journey that will take place, that we at least have to determine the direction that we're going, and then the work that, in essence, needs to be done, which gets to us having the consultants with us. But I just would ask, is that there possibly could be a difference between the work we do as an ad hoc committee versus the longer journey of the work that needs to be done as a possible commission, and if there is truly the belief that there is a longer journey that a commission needs to do, that we, in essence, make sure that by December 2024, that we bring that issue up so that it is addressed and it is not continuously put on as this is a temporary thing that will eventually somehow get resolved or not get resolved.
Yeah, that exact sentiment has been brought up before in some of our meetings. And so you hit the nail on the head. I think most of us have had that same thought, and we have discussed that in the past. And unfortunately, it takes actually getting into the work to make that decision. So, we haven't been able to do that until now. So I think all of us here are ecstatic that we can actually start talking with our community and finding out what the needs actually are.
I personally stand by this should be a permanent thing because we have a lot of work to do, as we already have said time and again. This isn't something that I feel like should go anywhere. There's always going to be truth. There's always going to be reconciliation. There's always going to be a need for somebody to have a voice in order to, or have a platform for a voice to be heard. That's my own personal belief. It's always been that way since when I first started way back. So
our job as ad hoc, through working with these facilitators, one of our recommendations might be this needs to be permanent.
I would strongly recommend we spend some time doing that because there are resources that we need. And what I hear is we had the responsibility to do the work without the resources. There are parties that are going to have to figure out where to come up with the resources to do this long-term, to go take the long-term journey, or it's just for show. And what I would respectfully say is that when the council passes on things to a commission, it's a way of saying we will give it to the community to help figure out and come back to us with recommendations. And though I do not believe it's their personal intention, but I think the unintended outcome of that is they ultimately said we did what we were supposed to do. The community has it, they don't know what to do with it, and there's nothing that we can do more about it. And I don't believe that we should allow our beloved City Council to be able to be put off the hook. I think that the staff, if there is going to be long-term work, which I believe that there is going to be, like I said, if multiple centuries of creating systems to put us in this situation, I would assume it's multiple centuries of us getting out of this situation, that we should think about how do we position ourselves so when the budget is being prepared, that we are being thought of based on the work that needs to be done.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you.
Happy to
I've,
have that sentiment. Thank you so much.
Yeah, just a comment. We've always used the word recommendations, but I've looked at the draft again, and in Article 3, our charges, the 3 charges, I see fact-finding. Again, of course, we know this, truth-telling, reconciliation. So, and I'm thinking at the end of it, we will have a document, but now I look and wonder where will the recommendations fit in. But again, this is just, yeah, so, and it's tying in with what Chad is saying, talk to the community, bring back, but yeah, I really don't see recommendations spelled out
In the bylaws?
in charge 3, in our 3 charges, fact-finding, truth-telling, reconciliation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you, Stephanie, would you be able to help us put that wording in there?
Well, I'm thinking you can probably just reference back to the resolution, because the resolution
Yes.
is much more detailed than what the bylaws are going to represent. So,
Okay.
so you can just put language that says as stated in resolution.
Which is right there in
20
section A.
dash, I can't think of the full number exchange right now, but I think that would work in terms of referencing back to that resolution so that everything that's contained in that is a part of the bylaws.
But we can have this on the agenda for the next meeting.
Yes.
And any kind of edits or suggestions, this is the time to start marking it up, whatever else, and try to go towards a final document that's ready to submit to commission, so.
So, Stephanie, as over the next week, if anyone else has further edits, they can send it to you, and then we can bring it back and just see if we collectively agree. If we are ready to make a vote to move on, we can, or we can bring it back the next meeting, if that's okay with everyone.
And actually, if you look at Article 2, Section A, it says as stated in resolution.
I'm sorry, Steph,
number
can you,
2.
I don't think we can hear you.
I don't know. It seems like some of the microphones are working really well and that others are not, so I will talk louder.
Okay.
But if you look at Article 2, Purpose, Section A, it says as stated in Resolution 20-228. And so that language could be carried down to the charges
Okay.
and added there so that that's the reference point that the bylaws are referring to.
Thank you. Okay. Well, if there's no other talk about the bylaws, and I still don't think there's anyone online that is not on our facilitation team. Well, I think there might be one person. Uh-huh.
Do you want me to promote somebody?
Oh, no, not, I'm just gonna open it up to public comment. If there's anyone online that would like to give public comment on what we were just talking about, or anyone in the community in the room with us that would like to talk, please come up to the front. Okay, we're going to move on to agenda item number 10, which is the budget for Phase 1. This budget is our own budget that we have been asked to put together. Worked with Redmond and Stephanie and Jeff Ruin from the city to put a draft budget together. Wanted to bring it to everyone here to see what our thoughts were and if there's anything missing.
It's in the packet.
It is in here, right?
Yeah, it's double printed, so,
Oh, it's double printed.
Yeah.
It's on the last page.
or double-sided.
So this is the budget outside of the facilitators?
Yes, would be our budget. Any extra things?
When did you put this together?
I mean, Stephanie and Jeff and Redmond put it together for me just in the last week or so.
Oh, okay, that's what I was wondering. So this is since we had that conversation where we're like, where's the money? Okay.
And so these are estimates I don't know if our staff members have any thoughts on this that you'd like to chime in on, but if anyone on the commission thinks there's anything missing or the number is too big or too small, now is the time. I was told by the city manager that any request over 10,000 definitely would be sent to the city council.
I think we need more money for special event promotion. I make tons of T-shirts for my organization, and that's not a lot of money for something like this. Like banners, promotional items, like that should easily be like 5,000.
Okay.
And then for meetings, well, good thing we'll never have to pay for a space, right? Because hopefully we can get them free through the city. But I mean, I know $500 like doesn't go very far when you're trying to feed folks. I have been putting together community meetings for many years, and will tell you that that's like, you know, an easy $1,000 to feed, you know.
More than a couple.
Yeah, yeah. So
How much?
just saying.
How much would you suggest raising it, or?
I mean, so a lot of the stuff that we're going to have there will go into under special event promotion, right? So like the promotional items, posters, banners, things like that, shirts, right? So, I mean, I don't know what kind of rental fees you would imagine. I guess it really depends on what we're doing, but hopefully we can get away without having to rent things. I would say it would be an easy $1,000. I mean, that's like cheap, and that's cheap. Like that's, I mean, I guess it just depends on like what we're doing. So I don't know. That's, the food itself could be like $1,000 is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
And just a point of clarification, this is phase one, so this is a budget to take us to October.
Oh.
We officially started August 1st, so keep that in mind when you're looking at what you're
Yeah,
going
so-
to need.
I was
So
not.
we could increase this to like $1,000 a meeting and just put it down to like, you know, 3 or 4 meetings.
I was not aware that this is. I thought this was for the entire project, so that changes things. Okay. So you were saying you would like to add $1,000 to where?
Per meeting, because we have 10 meetings at $500, right? So I would move it down to like 3 to 4 meetings at $1,000 a meeting, if this is till October, because I mean, I can't imagine we're going to be,
I mean, until October, we won't really be doing the big meetings until a little after, maybe.
yeah, so I mean, we might not even have to have any budgets in here for meetings at this point then.
Well, there
Essentially, you can have a phase one budget, and if that's under the $10,000 mark that the city manager said, you can present that, and then at phase two, present another budget that if it's under $10,000, then you may not have to go to council.
Okay.
some of the things I'm thinking about right now is like there's certain like one-time expenses that we're gonna have. If we want to have a booth, the kind of things that we need to do a booth, that's gonna, once we have it, then we can use it for
Everything.
things. So like there's certain startup things that we need to kind of think about financially, that it's just like I said, it's a one-time thing, then we're gonna have it, you know, to use. So, and this is where certain things, I don't know how much it would cost for us to have the thing for like the booth, if we set up, you know, those kind of things.
You're talking about like the promotional items, like table runners, the banners, or the tablecloths? Mhm.
Those, or, you know, a pop-up booth, you know, because it's art fest or something, you know, those kind of things that,
That we'll use
yes.
throughout the year.
I'm sorry, I just want to make sure this is clear. Are we talking about a budget that's for a month? When we say October, are we talking about October 2023?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking this year, October. So just for clarification, the facilitation contract that everyone's been referencing, it's broke up into two parts. It's actually a seven month contract. First phase is 3 months. Second phase is 4 months, and so in between that, there's a check-in with City Council, and basically you get the thumbs up to keep on going based on certain benchmarks being met and those kind of things. So we're really talking about, we just started August 1st with the activities that the facilitators came in and started the training process. And so the check-in is going to be in either late October or early November. And then we'll likely get the okay to move forward with the remaining phases, or the remaining phase. There's only one more phase. And so at that point, you could essentially represent a budget for phase 2 at that same check-in moment. And if it's over $10,000, which it may be, then the council can accept that budget as well as give the thumbs up to continue with the work, and then we can wrap up after that 7-month process. At the end of that process, there will be a report, and I think it's everyone's assumptions that there will be recommendations in that report, and I think from that report, there could be the case built on having the commission be more of a full-time based on achieving those recommendations. And then, like you said, there's the traditional budget process that the city goes through for everything that it goes through, every service that it delivers, that it could be then considered in that process. But for now, the only thing that the city council has approved is the $400,000 and some change for the facilitation contracts.
And this is the additional dollar amount that is
This would
for
be the additional, yes.
part of phase 1 minus the facilitation.
Right. So the facilitation has already been approved. This would be above that, and the city manager has basically said he has authority to approve 10,000 and below. Anything above that, he would take it to city council to get approval, and that would be dollars that the commission will have direct control over.
I have a quick question. So, I know you're saying anything that's over 10,000 has to go to the council for approval. So let's just say that this is the one that we want to send to the council because it's over 10,000. What kind of timeline would we be able to get an answer back?
I don't have the council's, basically it would be on the next city council meeting, and I'm not sure what that date is.
Why don't we keep it under 10,000? I mean, because like we only have till October. It's kind of funny, right? Like, what are we going to do in that amount of time? So why don't we just keep it under 10,000 so we don't have to do the waiting game, which always like screws us over, as we know. This is why this has taken so long for us to get here, because we're not going to need any special meetings right now because we're not even set up to do them. The whole point is to be working with the facilitators and making our plan moving forward, right? So
We have meetings already.
We had the strategic doing meeting, which it's under our facilitator's contract to cover a majority of that.
but isn't that our meeting?
No, that one we're inviting we're inviting people, key people in the community.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we have one meeting, right? But I'm just saying, like, so we have one meeting.
And the rest are
And
scheduled
then,
for
I mean,
all.
who really has time? Like, I mean, we have miscellaneous pilot programs. Like, I have a pilot program I'd like to try out, but I mean, I don't know if it's going to be ready to be like, done and over by October, right? So, like, maybe we don't need all that in there right now.
So, yes, I would agree, but also, so the miscellaneous pilot program, whatever comes from the strategic doing, this will help, whatever dollars, the 3 or 4 projects we choose from that would need to come from this budget, is what I'm assuming, between now and October.
So, like, we couldn't wait till after October then to decide, like, what that would do. I
I think-
guess, do you know what I'm trying to say? Like,
We could just,
I guess I think I know what you're saying. So it's possible, right? Whatever those things are could fit into a phase 2 budget.
when is the strategic doing meeting again?
it's the first weekend.
It's September 7th, which is a Thursday, from 5 to 8, I believe.
Yeah, I believe so.
And then
Budget goes to 1
Saturday, September 9th from 10
Yeah, she
to
had
12.
2 days. Yeah.
Yeah.
Redmond, do you,
October?
what date in October?
Oh, so
Okay.
I think we're basically going on the council's ability to meet and when the work is, or when the facilitators feel like they're at a good phase 1 completion. So there's some flexibility there. I've just counting the months. So if we started August 1st, that would take us into October, giving the whole month of October. The first council meeting usually is around the first week of November. So that's kind of the timeline.
So I would say we could definitely cut down on community marketing because we don't need all that right now. On the special meetings, we don't need all that right now. And the contingency and the miscellaneous pilot programs.
You want contingency for sure.
And yeah, I'm just saying we could cut down on it. Like, you know what I mean? Because like till the end of October. And then, you know, if we could keep it under, because I feel like if we're going to have to something over 10,000, it's going to take a long time for that to get approved. And then I mean, it's already it's like almost the end of August. I mean, like, how do we, I mean, I don't know so.
No, I would agree. I don't want to have to send it in front of the city council if we can get what we need right now, as soon as possible.
Okay, so instead of looking at this, say, okay, $10,000, how are we going to split up the $10,000?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that,
We have the ability to move the
So I
money
think
around once it's in the budget.
If we're
That's a question.
if
Yes.
we're just doing one
So we-
special meeting, we probably don't need 5,000. We could cut a big chunk out there.
Yeah, we're not going to be having 10 meetings by the end of October. This is what I'm trying to say.
Can we,
Right. So that's a significant chunk that we could remove. I mean, if we have one meeting, we could say, $1,000. That cuts 4,000 right there.
Exactly.
if we, if we can move things around, afterwards, as you just asked, and let's say there's 4 categories minus the contingency, can we just say 2,500 for each? And then just say that's our phase 1 budget?
That's certainly in your purview.
That's what I would recommend, considering we have the ability to move the money.
Yeah.
And then,
Or cut everything by half. It would end up being 9,000 and maybe 350. And then we can move the money around. We'll have just slightly under 10. Or,
I just want to get started. I mean, I know
Yeah.
Cliff does.
yeah. They don't really right now want to go to the city council for now. Not because, we've been there and it takes more time. And we really, right now, we may not be needing more than 10 until
Yeah.
the end of October. I'm agreeing with you. So let me shut up.
so
we're not
just,
going to have 10 meetings, but I think we already have, I thought there were at least 4 that were like in line of what we're talking about for the next couple months. So I thought there was at least 4.
there is at least one in October and one in November that's planned. We need to solidify those dates. And those are supposed to be some of our first hearings. But we really won't know all the meetings that we're going to plan until after the strategic doing meeting. But another thing is we could set forth this initial budget, and if we need more, or we feel like we're cutting it close, we can move things around or ask for more. So to get things started, and it is 10,000 and less, not like 9,999 and less, right? Just making sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I make a motion?
Yeah.
So, to cut the budget down to $10,000. I'm not really sure how to make that
What
motion.
would be a good way to phrase that motion, Stephanie?
I don't remember who said it, but somebody said to parse up 2,500 between the 4 different categories.
Okay.
If I understood that correctly. You get the same result, but I think however you want to make the motion is fine.
Do you want me to make it? Can I make the motion?
Yeah.
Okay. I move that we go ahead for our Phase 1 budget and parse up the budget in 4 different ways between $10,000, so that'd be $2,500 for special meeting, community marketing, special event promotion, and miscellaneous pilot programs.
Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, what about contingency? That doesn't matter.
I mean, we don't have to have that in there.
Okay, good.
Because we're going
We can move things around.
to.
Yeah. Perfect, okay.
So that is
I
my-
second that.
Is there any other discussion on this?
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded to parse up Phase 1 into 4 different categories in the amount of $2,500. All those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
Aye.
I think you're, okay. Aye to the yes, correct? I think so. Okay, so motion passes 8-0, excuse me, 7-0.
Awesome. Thank you so much. The next, and then I'm going to just open up to public comments online or in the room for our last agenda item on our budget. Now I'm moving forward to correspondence, which is agenda item number 11. And I don't believe there has been a correspondence in a while. We still have one last session, which is strategic doing. We're just, if you all are okay, I'm just going to wait until V gets here. That'll give us maybe a 5-minute break, unless there's anything else we need to jump back to.
I just have a question for our associate city manager. When does the budget process start?
I'm sorry, excuse me.
When does the budget process start?
That's the good question. I think it kind of starts now. We're starting the very beginning process of a lot of that's internally. Departments start coming together and meeting with the city manager around November, December. And then it starts becoming public in January, where the city manager's office presents its first recommendation, which is typically the first blush of what the budget's going to be looking like, and then the council kind of deliberates over that. It has to then be formalized and sent to the state by the end of March
You're talking about the budget for the
For
next
city.
fiscal year.
for the city. For the next
Yeah.
fiscal year. The fiscal year starts in July 1st and ends
Right.
June 30.
So this
Yeah.
10,000, it's already,
No, it wasn't for that. It was for the
You're talking about the
actual
future?
We're trying to figure out the process. For example, if we're trying to do anything, let's say for 2024, and our charter or our we can go into December of 2024, but the budget is set in March, right? With all recommendations given probably by January or February. The fiscal year that we will then want to have the decision made, we will only be able to operate with the budget that is given us at that time.
and their fiscal years are July and not, it's not January to December, it's July to June.
July.
Yeah,
So they will make the decision probably again in January or February of 2024 about the money. So as we start thinking about our commission, whatever we want to be able to move forward, we want to consider, again, if the past, the issue has been having the appropriate resources, time, talent, and treasure, then we want to make sure that we're on board when it comes specifically to the treasurer, so that we can, when we make the ask, we're making the ask at the right time.
Redmond, I have a question. The original money that was from the resolution, that, the $1 million that the facilitator part was part of that. Has the city talked about what they wanted to do with the rest of the money? Has any of that been earmarked for other things yet?
No, it hasn't. So the fund, it's a fund, Black Lives Matter. That's the $1 million. So the only thing that's been spent out of that is the money for the facilitation. So
Okay.
so that $1 million would be deducted by 400,000,
Right.
whatever, 20, whatever it is, yeah. Outside of that, nothing else has been spent, and there's no intention to spend anything out of that until this process is finished. So even your budget, I don't believe it's the city manager's intention to even take that out of that fund.
No, but I was just thinking
Okay.
about things that we might want to do for the TRC and our focus in the future, and talking about the budget kind of things, we potentially could, if the activity is consistent with what the resolution said the money is for, if it falls under that umbrella, that potentially could be asked for the city whether we could tap into that for whatever thing we have in mind.
Yeah, certainly can be requested, absolutely.
Okay. You want to do a break?
We can do a break, yes. Annie, do you have any idea if V is on their way?
She is nearly on their way, but not yet on their way.
Do you have any idea how much time that might be?
Can we do our announcements?
Can we do announcements now? Okay. Yeah, let's move to announcements.
Oh, we could wait for
Yeah, I guess.
Wangui. I mean, we could start.
Oh, not like we can't comment on the announcement.
Yeah.
You have an announcement, don't you?
No.
Oh.
I just want to get out of here. I'm trying to be efficient. I
We
mean,
still have 5 in the room, so you can go ahead and do the announcements.
If anyone has an announcement, I don't have anything right now.
Cliff, you got to have something.
oh, I have one. I have one. I want the community to know that they should be looking forward to the first Indigenous Peoples Day event hosted by the city this year in Iowa City.
Oh, that's exciting.
When?
Whenever Columbus Day is. So it counters that.
Got it.
Oh, sorry. That's okay to tell the date, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
And
I just didn't mean to respond. Okay.
The ninth.
And I think that's a really big deal, and I, excuse me, I really appreciate the Recreation Division for reaching out to Great Plains Action Society to help make that happen. And so, I mean, I can't say for sure if this is, I mean, we don't know exactly how it's all going to pan out, but we're really excited. And in fact, I don't even know if any other city or county or the state, well, I know the state itself hasn't, county or city has done something like this in Iowa. So this might be a first. So I'm really excited about it.
The date is October 9th.
Yeah, I knew that.
Thank you, Sakalis. Does anyone else have any announcements?
I have a small one. You might have noticed I was a little tardy this evening. That was primarily because I had to pick up my aunt. I think she's behind me. Yeah. Cheryl, we call her Sherry. So just wanted to welcome. She's visiting from Phoenix, Arizona. And will be enjoying Iowa City for at least a week or so.
Welcome.
Did your aunt bring the heat, or did she leave it within the state?
I'm trying to think it was just love and she just missed her nephew, but I kind of think the heat had something to do with it.
Well, if she didn't, as long as she didn't bring the heat.
Oh, okay. No,
My mom is in Phoenix, and I asked her not to bring the heat of love at 100 and there you go.
Yeah, it's going to be 100 this weekend. So.
108.
Are we on break where we can't respond? Or are we on break or on announcements?
We're in announcements right now. Do you have an announcement, Wangui?
No, I don't. I just wanted to respond to her and Phoenix.
It's fine.
I teach
no, it's
for
break
Grand Canyon. So when you mentioned Phoenix, my radar went up. So sometimes I go on the ground to the city of Phoenix. So
10 minutes.
February.
Would it be
Yeah,
better?
and I'm looking to go for the next graduation, when our next batch is graduating.
Yeah, we were just talking about the triple degrees and how it's going on 40 days. And I think it's a state of emergency now. That this is, in fact, I'm not from Phoenix, I'm from New York originally. And I think this governor, she put in state of emergency because this is the longest I remember. Triple degrees being over 110. Yeah, no, it's no joke.
Yeah, I operate on their time and weather, even when I'm in Iowa. Yeah. Welcome to Iowa City.
Iowa City? We're in Iowa City, right?
Yes, welcome. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And the odd thing is, when I told her I had a meeting this evening, and I said I wanted to meet I had the Truth and Reconciliation, she was like, I want to go to that. So she signed up for it. So.
We need to give us that energy to other people here.
Your nephew, he's doing so well, especially when he gives us all the money we ask for. Just as a public pressure that you can put on him.
That's low. That's low.
I just wanted $10 more. That's all, $10.
And that's all I had.
So,
Do you want to take a break then to cut the
so
mic?
Annie's going to give us a quick
Oh,
update.
okay.
Quick update, 4 more minutes, V will be here, and it's a presentation that they want to do tonight because it's kind of preparatory.
Okay.
So they asked for 4 more minutes.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. I do have one thing. Is it okay to talk about this?
I don't know what you're going to do.
I wanted to talk about in preparation, since V is going to be here in 4 minutes.
Oh, for the strategic doing? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. One of the things that we need to think about is the strategic doing workshop is going to be the 7th and the 9th. And this is supposed to be, we're supposed to be strategically inviting people from the community. So we need to think of who we want to invite. I have talked to Stephanie, and we can give names to her, and she can specifically invite people. We can either come up with a list tonight, or we can come back next week with that list, and people can be invited within that week. That'll give us, I believe, a 2-week window. Because as much as we want to be a part of this, we also need the community to be a part of this. So just wanted to put on everyone's radar.
What's the time frame on the 9th again?
It's a morning,
It's 10 to 12.
10 to 12.
10 to 12. Good to go.
You have a question?
I have a conflict on the
commenting.
7th.
Hold up,
Maria's
Maurice.
saying something.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Maria, we can't
Oh,
hear you.
sorry.
Say it one more time.
You have to yell. I'm sorry. I don't know what is going on with the volume. I've
Oh.
tried to turn it up.
That's okay, I can yell. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I have a conflict on the 7th. I'll actually have class. What you said it's like at 5?
5 to 8, right?
It's 4. It might be 5 to 9.
5 to 9 on the 7th.
So is it okay if I come late? I have
Yes.
class until 6:45.
I mean, I think it's okay. We'll definitely make sure. We'll find out. We definitely need you there. So
Is that September
September 7th.
7th to and 9th?
It technically is our first.
It's our first meeting. but
Yeah,
starting at
I'm out of town on a conference. Yeah, and this is the first I've heard of it. So but I can't. I'm not even able to change because it's scheduled a year ahead of time.
Are we going to have any meetings before that? Because isn't there a Thursday before?
So we have a Thursday meeting next week.
Oh, I won't be here. I'll be in Costa Rica.
We should have the meeting in Costa Rica.
Yeah,
I know.
or in Atlanta, Georgia, where I'm going to be.
V,
So-
welcome. I'll let you breathe. But
full
whenever you're ready,
disclosure.
you can come join us.
But so sorry, my question was, okay, so good. So next week then you guys will work out the details of what we're doing on the 7th. So I think what's important to note, just because I won't be here, is like, let's make sure we figure out the best way to reach out to the community. So I don't know if we have the ability yet to make a Facebook page or if we go through the city.
The city said that we cannot make a Facebook.
Okay, so can we go through the city then and advertise the event? Okay, great. Just as long as we can advertise it.
We have a page.
And that all commissioners, like, you know, really do their best to get it out into their communities. I just want to say that because I won't be here.
Full disclosure, on the 9th, I have a show too. I just, God is telling me to skip the show and stick with this, but that is also a rough day for me because when I have shows, it is busy, and I am
course.
the main person that runs everything. But
So
Wait, you
Still
said the
got-
9th. I thought we
that's on the
said.
9th, yeah. The 9th, that's been booked for a long time, but it is what it is. I'll do what I got to
can
do.
I ask a quick question, V? I know that you and Angie have committed to these dates. Is there any flexibility in that at all?
You know, we were trying to kind of work with the 3-month schedule. And so we want to give, you know, enough time to, you know, do some of the stuff and kind of get started. So that's why we were trying to pick early September. I just wanted to say, because you were talking about the 9th, so the Thursday evening session is from 5 to 9. The Saturday, September 9th, is just from 10 to noon. And so the difference is the Thursday evening is 4 hours because we're going to be doing the whole strategic doing session. And then the Saturday is like if people couldn't make it but still wanted to be involved, they could plug into those Pathfinder projects that kind of get established on the Thursday night. And still encouraging people to attend Saturday morning. But we were trying to offer different times, different places for people to come.
So if a commissioner can't make it, then on the 9th, like Cliff, that's not too bad?
That's not a big deal, no.
Okay.
Technically, on Thursdays, my hours of work are usually right between 5 or 4 all the way up until 9. So even the last meetings that we had to take off X amount of time. As long as this is something that we are going to make sure that we get done, I'm all about it. That's all. So
Yeah.
I just making sure disclosures out
You know,
there. If
the only
everybody
reason I-
wanted to switch the times, I would be all about it. But if this is something that needs to get done, I'm not going nowhere. So.
Yeah, we were trying to acknowledge that, you know, the daytime schedule is hard for people too. So it's a toss-up. You know, we even were talking, you know, kind of asking about, is Thursday a good night? Because you all normally meet on that night. Are we taking up too much of that time? You know, so I just want to be sensitive to that. Are these set in stone? No, I guess is the answer to that. We were trying to, like I said, fit that 3-month schedule to make sure there's enough padding on the backside of that. But all we need are 4 hours and then 2 hours. And we were just trying to fit that into kind of what we'd already done with the training, but, you know, lessons learned from the training too. There may be some things we want to shift. So now is definitely the time to change that, because what I'm going to go through tonight is basically like, now we need to move forward on this.
I would like to ask everybody, are these times working well for everybody or not?
I'm just going to be late for them the Thursday, but
Yeah. It'll probably be similar to like an eating dinner. So, you know, if you're a little bit late on the front end, that's probably not going to miss that much.
So on
I don't know.
Thursday, I wouldn't be able to be there till 7. Will this be something that I can review maybe? Of course, being in person is the best, right? But if I have class, so I can't skip class, but would there be like, PowerPoint slides or things that I can reference to kind of make up for what I've missed in person?
Yeah, I think that, you know, so the way that it kind of flows is, you know, we all kind of get together and start establishing the assets that we have. I talked about like, you know, social, physical, financial assets. So it's really about the people that are in the room at that particular moment. And then you kind of identify those projects that are going to move forward. So I think if you're probably there in the beginning and you're like, you know, engaged and wanting to do this work, it'll probably morph into about the 2-hour mark something along the lines of like, hey, these are the projects that we're thinking of. So hopefully you will at least get to that point. So you can just kind of, if you could make it on Saturday for the Pathfinder projects, you know, from that 10 to noon, then you could probably just, you know, dig right in. But I think the important part is to be a part of the creation, you know, of the ideation, I guess, of what those projects could be. And I think you would at least get to a good place with that for a couple hours.
She'll be coming on the
Okay,
tail
perfect.
end of it,
Thank
not
you.
the beginning.
Did you say you were going to be there be here from 5 to 7 or class from 5 to 7?
Class 5 to
She
7.
said she would
I'm
start
at-
at 7.
I'll roll in on the second part.
On the second part, yeah, okay, thank
So
you.
at
That-
7.
So
That
7
is
to 9.
probably a little bit more challenging, but I think you could probably just plug in, you know, the projects will start to like kind of morph at that point, but you may just find a project that you're like, I can help with this one, if that's okay with you.
And we can talk ahead of
Yeah,
time
I-
too, Marie. Maybe we can talk ahead of time, get you some ideas that you have, and then we can present it
Yeah, also
for
true.
you in the first
Yeah.
half.
Yep, that's a great point.
Yeah, I don't know, I think you are just getting in at the door. When I shared, I have a conference that was scheduled a year ahead of time from
Sure.
7th all the way until 10th. So, yeah.
On that day,
That whole weekend.
7th through
it's-
the 10th.
Yeah,
I see.
that weekend. I'm always out of town.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
if, you know, I'm happy to relook at the schedule. You know, I want to make sure as many, you know, commissioners can be here as possible. If we look at, I'm just pulling out my calendar right now. So the following week, the 14th and the 16th, does that make a
and
difference?
Commissioner Nobis, I'm not trying to talk for her. I think she said she'll be in Costa Rica.
No, that's
When,
next.
when are you in
next.
Costa Rica?
Okay.
Next week.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Or
Oh.
the weekend, wait,
Next week, you said, right?
yeah, this is meeting on the 24th. Yeah, I'll be leaving on the
okay.
23rd.
Sorry, I misheard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't be here.
Okay.
14th and the 16th works for me. I can definitely do that without
I'm
issue.
okay with you guys having a meeting on the 24th.
We're actually talking about the strategic doing one on the 7th.
Yeah, no, I'll be here for the 7th, yeah.
Okay. Would you also be available on the 14th? It sounds like maybe people,
14th and 16th.
I think so. I
work.
don't
Correct.
know. I have to go home and look at my schedule.
Yeah.
So,
But I will be here.
So I have class every Thursday
Okay.
until 6:45. Sorry, you guys.
oh, that's okay. Gotta get that education.
Yeah, if I'm the only one though, I mean, I don't want it to
Yeah.
hold this up because of me. I would be happy to take extra time to sit with somebody or just roll in and roll with what's going on. I don't want to hold it up because of me, especially if you're trying to do it Thursdays specifically.
I got to get that money. So that's my work time. So I would definitely be okay with the 14th and the 16th.
And you would be here, Commissioner Wang.
Yeah, I would be here, but at the same time on 7th, if everybody is here, I don't want to hold us up. I would rather just play getting as much as possible ahead of the time during our next week's meeting, and then catching up and doing as much as I'm able to.
I think,
before
1 week probably isn't going to make much of a difference, to be
Yeah.
honest. I think
more
it's
invite
probably
time.
okay. I didn't want to get too far into the month of September. You know, we have probably our first presentation, you know, coming at the end of October or something. Yeah,
I
so,
explained that to him.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we just want to make sure, and I think probably even at that point, it's like, you know, we have the projects, you know, they're kicking off. I think that that's okay too. You know, we want to show progress and that, you know, things are moving along. And I talked about how strategic doing, and Chad, I'm not sure if you're familiar, or Commissioner Simmons, with strategic doing. I feel like we've worked together on some of that, but you know how agile it can be. So it'll morph and change too as we move along.
I appreciate that if you guys would do the 14th and 16th, definitely.
Yeah, I would also do so because I'm really trying to split myself between Atlanta and here.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, can we do it Zoom? But I'm like, I'm there, I'm attending that. So it's and I want to fully be
Yeah,
here. I want to
it
be
would
there.
require in person. I don't think this is something we can do hybrid, to be honest.
Yeah,
I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll do the 14th and the 16th. The only caveat I have is that I just need to run it by my co-facilitator, Angie Jordan. I'm pretty sure she was open in September, but I'll just double check with her. But that's fine. I don't think that that's an issue.
Envy, you would keep the same timeframes?
Yeah, I think so. We definitely need those 4 hours, and I think I like the idea of everybody kind of working together on that Thursday night, and then if people can't attend, it's a weekend, it's during the day, and they can still get involved. That's really what the goal was to try and, reach people at different times.
How do you feel about attendance? Like, how do you feel about getting people here?
So the way I really think about strategic doing is it's not even sheer numbers, it's really about who are the doers. So I'm really more concerned about the quality of the people that show up. And I don't mean, I'm not judging people's character, but I mean, that people are like willing to engage and willing to give up assets that they don't have to ask permission to give up. So it's really about who is in the room.
So having more time to get the word out that this is going to happen.
But still, like, the more from the community that come, the better.
Of course, yeah. I'm not trying to say that. I think that we want as many folks that are wanting to be engaged here as possible. So yeah, having a little bit more lead time another week is great.
So again, how do you feel about the numbers? Like, you know what I mean? Like, do you know people already that are interested and invested?
Well, actually, that's what I was hoping to work on a little bit tonight. So it's a great segue, unless other people have questions. Other people have questions about the logistics of it. And Angie and I have a meeting with Stephanie and Redmond next week to kind of figure out like logistics of place and meals and all that kind of stuff. So if everybody feels good with those dates, we can kind of jump into your next question.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm hoping we don't use the city link, because for those people that I know, that's the major challenge. Even our meetings, finding the meeting, navigating to the link and to the information. It's a challenge to many people that I know.
We have some marketing strategies, some distribution, outreach strategies that I think will be just more robust. I'm certain we can do that with the city. We can use the city link, but it depends on how we get it out. So we have some ideas on that too that I'll share. Stephanie, I don't know if you had the spreadsheet that I had emailed earlier this week. Sorry to put you on the spot. Hello, also, by the way.
You mean to show it?
Yeah, is that possible?
Yeah, it will take, you can.
I'll just talk while you're doing that. So essentially, kind of to your question, when we had talked about doing strategic doing or getting the community involved, particularly when you're looking kind of throughout the process, there's certain sectors that we know that you all have talked about, I should say, not we. I keep using we because that's how I like to talk, but you all have talked about. And so what Angie and I did was kind of came up just with an initial spreadsheet that has very basic columns that are, education, healthcare, community leaders, of course, nonprofits. And these may apply, they may not apply, but we want to think broadly as to who is going to be in the room. And we could add, business leaders, we could add columns. It's really just to kind of get our brains thinking about, how broad this is going to look. And so what I was going to just kind of start to walk through tonight was just really a brainstorming session of, are there names that you can think of that we could plug in here? Who is missing? Like, what categories are missing? Those kinds of things. So that's what I'll walk through in just a minute. I think the next piece is just to kind of, Stephanie is getting that ready. The next pieces are also outlining the outreach strategy. So we get this invite list, but we should look at potentially a press release, a draft email, an event flyer, social media exposure. Are there other spaces that the city already has, utilizing those like IC updates and, newsletters that they put out? Can we get something on there that will help as well? So what we're really looking at is making sure that we're being thoughtful about who we definitely want in the room and then inviting beyond that. So get those core people, those people that you want at the table that have been talking for 3 years about, what are we going to do, how are we going to do it, have great ideas, have access to a lot of capital or whatever it is. Those are the folks that we definitely want there. The other thing that I wanted to confirm tonight, if possible, is I had mentioned during the session, the primer session, that there's an opportunity to work with Marlene Mendoza of Mendoza Consulting to do an entirely Spanish version of strategic doing. The problem with strategic doing and I've done it actually, is like the translation is, it does, not only does it take a while, but when you start breaking out into groups, it just ends up people that normally that speak a different language as their first language end up just getting together anyway, of course, because that's who they're comfortable with and it's easier. But in order to spread that around, which would be kind of a better opportunity there for folks to be engaged with people across different lines. We just feel like it would be better to do one entirely in Spanish. Of course, we would love to do one in French. We would love to do one in Mandarin. Unfortunately, we don't have strategic doing practitioners that speak those languages natively. But I think that would be awesome if we could get more folks to have that kind of training. But we do have Marlene, and she is interested. We already reached out to her to see if she was, after I got the head nod from the last training session, that you all would be interested. And so she has said, she would like to do that. So I can bring her the next time if you all want to explore that further. And I can share some information via email too.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Are you saying you would like to do a strategic doing specifically for a group of people where translation services are available, or so it would be separate?
No, it's a strategic doing session entirely in Spanish. So it's
Right,
separate. It is
but
separate.
would be okay.
Yep. I don't even know. It could be concurrent, but I think it would be in a different room, a different space.
Okay, gotcha. I feel like we should have input from that group of folks if they want to be. I guess I have concerns of them feeling like isolated. I understand it would obviously take much longer, and I totally respect what you're saying. I just wouldn't want them to feel like isolated, but they, people may prefer it.
Yeah, what I was trying to explain is that I think that last time what happened was that people felt isolated in the room because you have to break out into small groups.
Oh, okay.
I think it is it's a way to engage just other parts of our community. But I definitely I hear what you're saying. I mean, we kind of went back and forth about it. If that is the direction that you want to go, 4 hours turns into 7. I mean, it takes that much. It just takes longer. And Marlene does translation services, and so she could certainly interpretation.
Like even with simultaneous translation with the headsets?
I've not done that before, but maybe not. Yeah.
I've done that quite a bit at
Yeah.
different conferences, and
Yeah.
Isn't there like apps and stuff that you can give your voice and then it will translate into whatever you need? Because I was thinking about that even for the Asian community as well. I feel like if we had something that just was on a screen and we verbalized it and then it popped right up on a screen, everybody could read it themselves, and it kind of hits everybody all at once and visually. That
I have an
something-
app on my phone that does that.
I have a friend who showed me that like the other day, and that's what I was thinking about it. That's all.
No, that is awesome. I am not familiar with that. If that is a direction that you all want to head, I'm happy to support that.
The reason why I'm saying that is because if we're trying to make inclusion a thing, then we
course.
need to definitely look out for our Asian community and everybody else.
Absolutely.
I just feel like that would be.
I'm sure we can try and find translators down the road through the university and things like that. But in the meantime, like our first focus is the Spanish-speaking community, right? And so yeah. And so I think that I like your idea. Firstly, like I think it's because you're empowering a group of people to be together and speak their first language. So I think that's great. Also, I guess it wouldn't hurt to look into translation, like what did I say earlier?
The headsets?
Yeah, immediate translation
yeah,
or what did I say?
simultaneous?
Simultaneous. Thank
Yeah.
you. I forgot what I said. And if we have to have a couple more during the breakouts so that we can have people, spread out in groups, then that's cool too.
Yeah, definitely.
So
would absolutely welcome more inclusive opportunities for language.
and the
inclusion.
technology isn't complicated. So I'm pretty sure the translator probably is aware of that, and you could ask them and see. If not, then I think it's fine to also have what you had planned.
Sure.
Does
Yeah, we'll
this-
look into that.
I'm just curious, does the city provide translation?
Or interpretation?
or interpretation, I guess.
Interpretation, like written material?
Oh,
No.
in person.
In person,
speaking?
no.
Okay.
No, we don't.
And then is ASL a factor here that we should consider?
We certainly can, yeah. Yeah.
If we're going to expand, I mean, Arabic speaking, French,
Yep.
Swahili.
Yes, yep.
It's definitely things we should think about as well.
There's an app for that. Somebody said that once.
There's an app for that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I say we do it.
Yeah, the headphones are really good. The ones we don't even realize that we're not speaking the same language because, they
Yeah, that's
translate
cool.
for us. Yeah.
That will definitely bring everybody together.
Yeah, I mean, I think it might be an opportunity for, the city to have, those headsets because they're purchased here for this reason. I don't have headsets, I'll say, for my organization. So that would be probably just something that would have to be purchased or resourced somehow. So we
Yeah,
can-
and since we didn't factor interpreters and translators as we got the facilitator contract, that on our end in our budget, that is something we have to factor in because previous times when we are having people who are just speaking Hispanic come to the TRC, they usually cater for that expense of the interpreter or the written translation. So we have to factor this because it's also really part of the ratio inequities
Yeah,
in our
absolutely.
city. So yeah, that is something we should factor in. Yeah.
So
and
how can
have
we
somebody.
make this happen, though? I guess is the question.
So that's a great question. I missed the budget session or discussion that happened prior. Is there an opportunity there to look at
I believe so. I
a
mean,
budget request?
we did
Yeah.
put together the budget. We put 2,500 in 4 different categories: community marketing, special event promotion, miscellaneous pilot programs, and special meeting accommodations.
So would that fit under special meeting accommodations?
Yes,
Oh, great.
you could.
So potentially you already have budget for headsets. Is that what you were thinking?
I mean, I don't know how, like, we're having
gonna
one
cost.
meeting? We're having
Yeah,
one strategic doing meeting before the end of October? Or how many we have?
Yeah, well, 2, I guess, technically.
Okay, so I have no idea how much it costs for simultaneous translation. I've never had to pay for that. I've paid for other types, but never that.
So I'm new to this, but do you own the headset? Do you just buy the headset and then it's a program?
No, usually they have equipment themselves. Like usually they have the equipment.
Oh, okay.
It's borrowed.
Okay.
Has the city ever done this before?
Not to my knowledge.
I know
Stephanie?
when civic groups come in and stuff, there's equipment. But I believe it's their equipment and not city.
I mean-
I've seen it done.
Who does our tech, like all of our tech and everything for the city?
The communications department.
Do you think the communications department would be able to set something up where they just have, like we have the screen going on right here, multiple different screens where it translates into their own language, no matter who it is, and as we're speaking right here into the mic, it just kind of pops up and scrolls right on through, because I was amazed by the app that I saw the other day. I forget the name of it, but I'll get it. And I feel like that can be really helpful as well.
I can check.
That'd be great.
Yeah, and in our conferences, we usually do it with Hispanics in Iowa. They bring them to us. So I've never really bothered to even ask how they go about it. Yeah, because for us, for me, if I have somebody who's speaking another language that I don't understand, I bring in the interpreter, and they get paid by so that one, which is really good, the headset, yeah, but I know they are doable.
I'm curious too how that would work with small groups.
Which one, the headsets or the?
Yeah, any of it.
Okay.
I want to make sure that we're making it accessible throughout, and so the process is that you move into small groups pretty quickly, and so I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, this might be like overkill, considering that we might have 10 people in the room. So, like having the meeting for folks that, are, their first language is Spanish might be a better idea for the moment until we can figure out like a better way to do all this. Yeah. And just in case, I mean, I mean, I love that we want to do this, just it might take some time to
Yeah.
figure it out.
It could be aspirational. I'll work with Stephanie and Redmond and see, if what that could look like, how that could look, if Stephanie's already kind of experienced some of that. My only concern is the small group aspect of it. Whenever, we've had translation services, I've seen when the small groups happen that then it just feels like isolation within a larger room because they're sitting with the translator, So I don't think it has to be that way. I'm just saying that's my only concern. But I want to figure it out.
The other thing to consider, like I was saying, is an ASL interpreter, and there's a device you can get now, which I've actually been considering buying for our own organization, that is like a screen and puts the captions up for folks that need to read and can't understand ASL as well. So that's another option to consider. I mean, I know I'm making it difficult. I'm sorry, but if we're trying to make this accessible for folks, these are things we always try to do with every meeting we have or event.
It's great. We want to be as accessible as possible. So I appreciate these, options, and we'll definitely explore those. And I think ASL is definitely something we should do. I don't think that'll be a problem.
ASL costs usually about $80 an hour, and then I think often it's very tiring. So like, if you're going to do something longer than an hour, they usually want to trade off. So,
Okay, so 2.
yeah, usually need 2, but you'll find that all when there's a couple of services in the state, like LinguaBee, and then Iowa interpretation services. I think that's what they're, something like that. Those are 2 great places to start. Plus, I have a spreadsheet of ASL interpreters I can send you.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And here's the problem: is there's been a shortage. I don't know what the problem is, but it's really hard to get ASL interpreters lately. So, but we might get lucky because we're here in Iowa City, and the university probably has some students that might even want to, volunteer if they need to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you.
Can I offer a thought? Since a lot of this is actually driven by the commission, like these are invitations to the doers in the various communities, that we maybe get a head count and find out what those language needs are, and then we basically can use the resources we need based on the people that we identify to be, and because this is a much smaller select group, maybe something more big when we get into the larger community might be more appropriate to kind of take on that approach.
Yeah, we are going to require registration, and so having that link, we could ask those questions. Do you need an ASL interpretation, and have it the page translatable, so that people could indicate if they need other language services. We could do that. Yeah.
yeah, I agree with Redmond though. Like we don't know what we need right now.
Yeah, we don't.
For this first
But we're-
meeting. So let's
we're
just
putting it
not.
out there.
But I love that we're having the conversation because
Yeah.
we're preparing for
Yeah.
the proper way of doing this stuff moving forward.
Yes, I would agree.
I have another set of questions, so I'd like to just get a better understanding of how this may fit into the 2030 plan that was set up. How does this fit into the things that the chamber was doing? Do you see there being any roadblocks or any things that they may, from a programming issue, that they may be doing something that will be getting in the way of what we're trying to do, or other things? You've got a lot of research that you've already done around the community. How much of that will we be able to see and use?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. There are resources. There's a lot of research that has been done in the community in terms of, our work on the Inclusive Economic Development Plan specifically identified many roadblocks that, business owners, people of color, immigrants have in the business world here locally. So certainly that information is here, and I can share that with you. I think in terms of what potentially we could see in terms of synergy with 2030 or roadblocks, I think it will depend on the Pathfinder projects that come out. And that kind of actually is a good segue into the invite list. So I think that really thinking deeply about who you want at the table and strategically about who you want at the table. So inviting those, community leaders, decision makers, people that, in this space, they have to be willing to give up some things to do the work. So if you get, the president of Midwest One, that there may be some roadblocks that person could remove or identify that many others could not. So getting a real cross-section, I guess is what I'm trying to say, of community members is advantageous because some of those barriers and roadblocks may be addressed simply by the people that you have in the room who you are building those relationships with. So that's a really great question and a way to think about the invite list.
I'm glad you mentioned the 2030 plan because I had already set up a meeting with Chastity and Katie, the executive director of that project, so that we could get acquainted and then get working with the 2030 folks to see how, what we can do together. And so, yeah, that's great. So definitely Katie, hopefully, would be at this meeting.
She should be. She would be.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And they utilize the Inclusive Economic Development Plan as one of their pillars. So a lot of that stuff Katie is very familiar with. But I do encourage folks, if you want to look at some of the specific roadblocks that this commission could address, we did try and make it very accessible with, things that, recommendations. So I'm happy to walk through that anytime. But that's great to hear that you got that meeting set up with Katie. I don't know if the spreadsheet is available.
So,
It won't pull up?
well, it's not that it won't pull up, but I can't pull it up without my email showing.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So, and this is just for everyone, if there's something that you want, displayed, I need to have it before the meeting and I can save it on my desktop.
Oh, okay.
This is just a laptop. This is not like a laptop that puts me into my system. I have to do a dual authenticator factor thing to even get into
right.
my email. And so just to be respectful of stuff in my inbox.
Sure.
I trust everyone here, but I don't have their permission to display it, and I just want to be respectful of that. However,
That makes sense.
I have paper and I have a pen and I have the 5 categories
Okay, cool.
that you had on the Excel sheet.
Thank you.
So if you want to just start with the Iowa City Community School
Yeah.
District, and I can take notes and we can still make it work.
Sure, great.
Yeah.
So the pillars that we had were community leaders, ICCSD, medical, nonprofit organizations, religious leaders, and university. Those were the big ones that we were just taken from.
Corporations or business?
Yeah,
Did
we
you
can
have that in there?
business. Yep.
We're talking about the invite list right now, right?
Correct. We are talking about the invite list.
So, corporations/businesses.
Got it.
So we should start with one of the lists and start naming people? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, if you want to just start with a column, we can start with community leaders. And I can also take notes.
Well, we mentioned Katie.
Katie
Then there's Andre Wright, Wright House of Fashion. And there is many organizations like United, what is it called, the one that works with the youth.
United Action for Youth.
Yeah.
So that would probably be like Talia.
UAY.
Yeah.
UAY, definitely.
Well, if we're talking about
UAY. that's
people
it.
specifically, from there, I would say Tony Branch from UAY.
I don't want to interrupt, but can we also pull the list that we had developed? We had developed a list of organizations that we can work.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. We already did this.
Stephanie, the last time we
Yeah.
mentioned it, she pulled
Okay.
it out for us. So
But we only listed
that I
names
can
of
pull- that I can pull
organizations.
up from the
Okay,
city's
yeah.
website.
And so I think that would be a good one to have, but we didn't have specific people on that list, right?
We just had a point of contact, so all of us
Yeah,
like
the
agreed to be a point of contact. I forgot about that.
Yeah, just so that we don't mention them again. Yeah, as
Yeah.
we build onto that.
Well, we should mention them again so we can put them on this list, but yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
okay, by pulling it up.
Yeah.
And then putting it on
Yeah.
what we is making.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just have to go. I think that was the,
That was 2 years ago in
I
December.
think it was the July.
Are you serious?
She pulled it out and
It
sent
was
it.
2021, yeah, she did.
Goodness.
She's in 2023 right now.
If you could just, while we're looking at the
Yeah.
list, just, what is the outcome that we're looking from the meeting? I know that you're gathering information, and I'm not talking about the big picture. I'm just taking a look at the 14th and the 16th. What is it what does success look like for us?
Yeah, so the Pathfinder projects are, essentially, and this is another thing that we need to touch on tonight too. So the way it really starts is with an affirmation statement, and I think I shared the one for the Inclusive Economic Development Plan, and it was kind of wordy. But the affirmation statement is your North Star. That's where you want to go. So you want to say, you eradicate racism in Iowa City, right? That's your North Star. You start there, and then you get people in a room, and they start listing the assets that they have. I have a car you can have, or I have a trust fund, or whatever it is. And then you start looking at like all the things that people are offering in the room. What kind of project could we come up with? And then you go through and you vet those projects. So you say you came up with 10 projects, and you're saying, okay, well, what is the easiest thing to do but least impact, and what is the potentially hardest thing to do, but the most impact. You start looking along those lines, like what is the impact versus how easy or hard it is to get done. So you obviously want to go for the easier, high impact project.
When we do that, are we doing that based on the categories that you listed for us? So if you brought up education, will we be looking under education, or?
It could be. It depends on if people from education show up and they say, this is something that I think we need to look into, and I have all these assets that I think and then people start talking. It's created within the group, essentially.
So the categories we were talking about were really more designing of the type of people or the
Correct.
type of expertise that they would bring to the table
Yep.
versus the type of projects that they would work on.
Absolutely.
Is there any value of us bucketing the type of projects that we're interested in? So in essence, we can better understand the temperature.
You can do that. I have had groups do that. I think that if you have a general sense of some things that you want to do, hold that, bring that with you. And then once you get to the session, things take a life of their own. And I guess I'll say, there may come a point where the projects, 3 out of the 5 that you all had thought you wanted are viable with the people in the room. And 2 of them just, you'll have to kind of put for later, or maybe it didn't make any sense. It kind of realized that, X, Y, and Z would be a better project. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think, in fact, I've heard lots of ideas actually over the months about things that people want to do. I think that what is exciting is about actually getting those people in the room to do it, because you can't do it on your own. Right? So this is really about creating those groups that will get the thing done, or not, which is also why strategic doing is agile. Things may fail and break down within a matter of 30 days. Okay, that's fine. We had 3 other projects that we put to the side, so let's try that. So it's fine to come in with some ideas. It may save the day in the end. Maybe like, actually, this is a better project. But I wouldn't let it dictate the process, because really, the whole point of it is to bring people together, move through a process, and trust that we're going to get the outcome that you want, which is to erase racism in Iowa City, because that's what everybody's working towards. So it's kind of nice to actually get people from different sectors in the room, because it's almost like arts and sciences. Like things start crossing, and you're like, oh, wow, I never thought about that. It's like a new idea. You start cross-sectioning things and get to different places.
And then this is a question for the chair. Then, as we go through this process, what is it your hope is that we will be able, that will be revealed to us?
Going through the strategic doing process.
Yes.
So also just trusting our facilitators who have brought this strategy to us. Since our commission has been tasked with a great, it's a huge task because we're not centered on just one topic as other commissions are. It'll help us find some projects to narrow down. Help us also find other partners in the community because we're supposed to be working with the community so that we can at least start something. So this will also help us with the reconciliation process, the community building process, and also inform how we're going to move forward with the truth-telling process is how I see it.
So once we find this work, right, and it's kind of revealed to us.
Yes.
We find partners, they kind of, we explore that possibility. Then is that the time that we will want to go to the city council to ask for support in doing this activity?
I don't know if we necessarily need to go to the city council to ask for support because they've already told us this is what they want us to do. In the resolution, they list several different ways that we can do each category, and I believe that these strategic doing Pathfinder projects will be well in line with those activities that we can do. Whether some group of people decide that they want to do a spoken word event or some kind of photo project or really just do a bunch of truth-telling sessions in a certain space. Whatever we all come together, it's really defined by the community versus just us as the leaders of this commission.
And this is kind of the last thing just to explore. So let's say that work comes out, whatever the work is. There are assets that are available. Some should be in the room, some will not be in the room. And let's just say, for an example, one of our festivals that we normally have in April, they're not in the room. Would we then try to leverage that as an asset, even though the people aren't in the room? Will we try to leverage things that already
You
are
can't.
in place?
You shouldn't.
So yeah, I'm not an expert in strategic doing. So
I wouldn't. Because you should only really, and that's why it's so important that you get people to this meeting, that you want to be at that. I'm sorry to interrupt. I didn't mean to be so forceful. But you shouldn't do that. You should really work with the people that are in the room because also those are the people that are committed. Now, I understand not everybody can make every meeting, right? But there may be an opportunity to bring those people in. I just wouldn't speak for anybody because I'm going to guess that you're going to come up with 20 different ideas. I mean, I feel like I can already come up with like 8 off the top of my head that y'all have talked about. You really only need like 3 or 4. I mean, it's because there's a lot of work to be done. And I think trying to speak for others and bring in their assets when they're not here, it may or may not happen, right? So I would just advise against it, I guess. We typically talk about the people in the room, and that's why, with Commissioner Krebs not being there, it'll be important to talk with her ahead of time as to, maybe some of the assets that she's really willing to, provide and those kinds of things. Because we know she will be there eventually. But it is a unique moment, a unique space and time. I know we like to Zoom. I know we like to be in 5 different places doing 3 different things. But this is about the presence of the people in the room. And in fact, the assets that you're offering are things you don't have to ask anybody to use. So it's like, I'm not going to say, oh, well, I have a van that my boss has that we can use. Like, your boss isn't here, right? So it's really about those folks in the room. It's important.
Understood.
Now, I will say that once these Pathfinders are put forth, having those people involved, knowing that this event happens, certainly it's not in a silo, right? So there's always going to be an opportunity to engage them. I just don't want people speaking for other people in the room. Yeah. Cool. Well, since I put that wet blanket, I saw the 3 organizations that you have, and I'm pretty sure I can find contacts for those, but you know, do you have people that in these organizations you know you want here? Those are the people that you're going to want on this list. You know, Dream City, everyone listed here. I think maybe what I'll just say is, you know, Stephanie can email this list out to everybody. And it's really, I just wanted you all to get your eyes on it, just starting to think about what that would look like. Make sure there's specific people and that you have a contact information for them. So that might just like expedite this. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. So I really do encourage, though, looking at adding any categories or deleting any categories that you don't want, you know, maybe just isn't relevant. I think we tried to pull some of the things that were listed in the resolution, you know, some of those categories. But we don't want to leave anything out. We want to make sure that you have the people in the room that you know you want there, and then anybody else is a bonus.
What were the categories again?
So right now we have community leaders, Iowa City School District, medical, nonprofit organizations, religious leaders, university, and business.
How many is that total?
3, 6, 7. 7, right?
So I have community, Iowa City Community School District, medical, religious, and
Nonprofits,
nonprofit,
university,
university.
and business.
And what was the last one?
Business.
Business, okay. As it is getting later, would it be beneficial to like think about it and maybe really bring our list next week?
Yeah, let's do that too, because we also have an extra week, so maybe that'd be helpful. And I'm always happy to answer any questions that folks have. In terms of the outreach strategy, so once we kind of get the invite list, you know, we actually, Angie and I won't take credit. Angie wrote a draft email that you could use to send out that would like have the link, and you know, it's just a draft, so you'd kind of want to massage it a little bit, but just so you're not staring at a blank page, it just might be helpful to have a template to send out, unless you're just doing personal invites. Anyway, just to be helpful. We also put together a draft press release, which, you know, obviously share with staff to see what they think.
How many, what is the number of people that would look closer to success?
You know, it's kind of tricky. I don't think you want more, honestly, I don't think you want more than, I'm looking at Redmond because he was at the Inclusive Economic Development Plan we did strategic doing, and I think there was like 35?
About 30,
Yeah, 30, 35 people. That was pretty big. Now we have 2 facilitators, and if we need to, I can, you know, people will RSVP. So if we need to, we'll get some more facilitators. I can reach out. There's a very robust strategic doing community here. If that is the case, if we get more than 30 is about the capacity that Angie and I can handle, then, you know, we'll probably have to you'll already be in small groups, so that'll be okay. But like I said, you know, having more than 3 or 4 projects, unless you have, you know, a lot of people. So we had 30 people and we had 3 projects, I guess is what I'll say, that came out of that. You know, and that was some people dropping out, and, you know, that kind of stuff always happens.
So if you had 30 people there, how many people were actually invited?
I think we probably invited about 50.
Okay.
Yeah, I can go back and check, but I feel like it was between 50 and 60. Some we, you know, knew right away couldn't be there. Others, I think most people showed up that day that had RSVP'd.
Okay.
Yeah, that wasn't like an emergency. So we also wanted to put together an event flyer, and I know, or I believe you all have a logo, or it's in the works.
In the works.
Yeah.
It's in the works. It'll
So-
be finished next week. The logo.
Oh, I actually got an email. It's done now, but I'm going to get that to you immediately, and
If
we can
you-
have that set up for next week, but I
Okay.
just got an email
Okay, that
tonight.
works. And if you want, you can send it out before, and I can send it out to everybody too.
That'd be great. It's done.
Okay.
Already got it up.
Great. So I don't know if there's like how the city does like event flyers and things like that. If you have, is it communications staff or if you hire out or
A little of both.
a little of both? Okay.
So it kind of matters on availability and time frame and everything, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we were hoping that maybe the city would have some, in-house resources they could use to put the flyer together. I guess we have about 3 weeks lead time, but for the event. So, usually if you don't put anything out like 2 weeks before, 2 weeks is like a good sweet spot, so people don't forget. So, yeah.
Do you have the content for it?
Yeah, I believe we do. The only thing is we would be changing the date. We need to verify the details, about location. But I think all we really need to do is set up the event link, which we would work with staff on doing. So, yeah. And then social media exposure. So I think that was the other kind of question mark we had, and you all were already talking about it. So I think once we have the flyer, we have a press release. I don't know if that goes on, like all that goes on social media. And other kind of the Iowa City update newsletters, things like that. If there's other places that you want to involve, those can be direct conversations, direct drops, whatever. But if we're missing something, though, definitely let us know how you want to do different outreach.
I do have one question for Stephanie. Do we have to give permission to approve like a press release right now, or do we have, like, can it just?
It can just go.
It can just go? Okay, just making sure.
Great. And we can, like I said, we're meeting with staff next week, so we can kind of figure out timing. We can like work backwards and see when you want everything released and what it'll look like. So that's what I have for kind of the outreach strategy. It sounds like Stephanie will email that out to you, add columns, add people, contacts, and then next week we'll kind of revisit this conversation and see, where are we at? Because I think that those emails will need to go soon.
I was going to say, if we're going to be doing the 14th, 2 weeks before that is August 31st.
Yeah. We get on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Stephanie, you can help us with invites, and we can do our own personal invites, or.
Yeah, that's fine.
So if everyone can put together their own list, I'm not sure would you want us to send them to you,
I'll
Stephanie?
just send out the sheet
Okay.
from V tonight, and I'll include this kind of list that you had put together. I don't know, it's been a while, but and you can maybe use that as a starting point.
Yeah, if everyone could try to get it to Stephanie before Monday so it can be included in the agenda, that'd be great. And then if everyone could try to review the list before next Thursday's meeting so we can just, if there's anything that needs to be discussed, it won't be new to everyone. I think that'd be helpful.
Yeah. The last thing I wanted to just touch on was that affirmation statement. It is the North Star. It's important because it's what everybody's going to be working towards. And when you asked, about what does success look like, this is getting towards that goal. And so you don't have to have it tonight, but really want to challenge you all to think about what that affirmation statement is. And it can be simple, like I said, end racism in Iowa City, or it can be much more specific, much more nuanced. I find that the ones that, are simple, you can rally towards them, but then I'm not sure, when we talk about measurable impact, if you can really kind of measure that. The one that I shared with the Inclusive Economic Development Plan was specific in, different, throughout the process of a business being developed, that there was authentic, support. Those kinds of things, I think, bring just a little bit more nuance, and that can be, you can kind of see how that gets you there, right? So there's three, four different levels of business development. Like, let's work on this one, So I just challenge you to think about that. It's not easy to do, but I know I have a lot of faith. So if there's anything I can do to help ideate about that. I think really next week would be good to have that affirmation statement. Obviously, we don't need to have it till before the strategic doing. So if we can't get to it next time, that's fine. But I don't want to lose sight of that because it is incredibly important for the session itself.
So to be clear, we would already have it put together before going there. Okay.
Yeah. It is what is revealed at the beginning of the session. And what I'll do for our next meeting is print out the actual packets for strategic doing that every person gets so that you can get a flavor of what is it you'll be doing in the small groups.
Thank you.
That'll be helpful. Yeah. That's all I have for tonight. Any other questions or?
Oh, the affirmation statement, is that something that normally would be also like on the marketing material, or is it just something that's presented at the beginning of the strategic?
It's a good
doing?
question. I've always had it revealed at the strategic doing session, but I've never worked with the Truth and Reconciliation Commission before, so it's not a bad
Or
idea.
maybe right before, so we, okay.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea to draw people in to see like what you're doing. I think this is such a public space. A lot of the organizations I've worked for in doing this, it's not as public. So maybe it's something to consider. Yeah.
So we should definitely have it worked out by at the end of next week's meeting for.
If you want to put it on the flyer, yes. Yep.
I won't
Good
be
point.
here for the meeting.
Well, you can let me know your ideas.
Anybody else?
Thank you, Phoebe, for
Yeah.
giving us an overview of the upcoming strategic doing workshops.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
I appreciate. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for rushing over here. I know your life is busy, so
It's
thank you very
okay.
much.
Yeah. Sorry, I couldn't be here earlier. So.
Any other thoughts, anyone? If not,
Okay.
I think that is all we have on our agenda. I just have one last announcement. I'd love it if everyone would start using the Google Calendar that Stephanie sends out every week, just to make sure that we know who's going to be here for quorum. That's very helpful. So with that, I move to adjourn.
Second.